Now, judges in London have ruled that the UK government's controversial plan to deport migrants to Rwanda was lawful. It follows a number of legal challenges by migrants and campaigners that saw Britain's first planned migrant flight to Rwanda blocked before takeoff. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson brought in the proposal to try to tackle record numbers of migrants crossing the Channel from northern France by small boats. Prime Minister Mark Rutte has apologised on behalf of the Dutch state for its historic role in slavery and for consequences that he acknowledged continue into the present day. The apology comes amid a wider reconsideration of the country's colonial past, including efforts to return looted art and its current struggles with racism. The prospect of an apology in The Hague had been met with resistance from groups who said it should have come from King Willem-Alexander in former colony Suriname next July on the 160th anniversary of the Dutch abolition. Well, business news now, and European Union ministers are scrambling to institute a cap on gas prices before cold weather sets in. After months of negotiations, delegates believe they're closing in on an agreement to limit prices, albeit at a level well below the prevailing cost of gas. Ministers are also discussing a number of carve-outs from the pact to prevent an acute shortage of fuel. Still, one of the Commission's top officials believes that a deal is possible.
Very closely with the presidents and the member states, and I strongly believe that the deal is within reach. Of course, it requires a very strong spirit of compromise from everyone, and Commission is here, and we aim to facilitate the efficient and balanced approach.
Well, more on that story and the rest of the day's business headlines, including Elon Musk's latest poll of Twitter users. Let's cross over to London, where Arise correspondent Laurie Laird is standing by. Good to see you, Laurie. So first, a cap on oil prices. Now the EU is closing in on a cap on gas prices. Has peace broken out amongst the sometimes fractious members of the EU?
You know what happened, Charles? What has happened to all of the squabbling that we associate with the EU partners? Now, believe it or not, there is some acrimony behind the scenes, but EU countries are closing in on a cap on gas. This is a lot harder to get to than the oil price cap. And believe me, that wasn't easy. But it's simply because gas is less fungible than oil is. It comes in many different forms. Some comes through pipelines, some comes on tankers, and many countries do not have the facility to re-liquefy the gas that comes on tankers. But here we go. It looks like that we're seeing the EU delegates meeting today, and they have said that they would like to hammer this out by the end of today. What they seem to be closing in on is a cap on prices at 180 euros per megawatt hour. Now that's a little bit hard to put in perspective. It is well above the prevailing price right now, which is about 108 euros per megawatt hour. But it's well below what the EU wanted not long ago, which was about 280 per megawatt hour, which really would not have discouraged any selling of Russian gas at all. But if they close in on the current price cap, what is being discussed, it really shouldn't affect Russia's selling of gas, at least at the moment.
Okay, well, that kind of answers the question, because I was going to ask you, how much will this hurt Vladimir Putin? So let's move on, because we haven't got that much time.
It's worth
speak about that
a little bit, because gas, Charles, gas revenues are much, much less important to Russia than oil revenues. So even if gas were curtailed, gas payments were curtailed, as long as Russia is still earning on crude oil, which it is, it shouldn't hurt the Russian exchequer all that much.
Okay, well, thanks for clarifying that. Let's move on to your favorite topic, Elon Musk. Another escapade. He's polled users about whether he should stay as chief executive. What's the outcome?
You couldn't make this stuff up, Charles. The outcome is that 58% of the 17.5 million people who responded said Elon Musk should go. No revelations, Charles, on how many of those people might be Tesla shareholders who are getting extremely frustrated by the fact that Elon Musk seems consumed with running Twitter rather than Tesla. Tesla shares down 30% in the 54 days since Elon Musk has become the head honcho, tweeter in chief of Twitter, as he calls himself. I didn't happen to vote on this one. I'm not sure if you did, Charles, but again, 58%, that's a pretty big percentage in favor of Elon Musk going.
Well, I certainly didn't vote, Laurie, but I was going to ask you, though. I mean, it's one thing to...
you're busy during the day.
It's one thing to say he's got to go, but who do you reckon might replace him?
Absolutely, that's the question. I mean, I'll ask you again, would you want the job? It was at this moment a difficult job. Twitter was never a money-making proposition, even less so now because advertisers have run so scared since Elon Musk has taken over. And Elon Musk himself has said, well, at least through tweets, that no one wants the job because Twitter could be heading on a collision course toward bankruptcy. Now, he has been saying that for a while. He tends to use the threat of bankruptcy as a threat. And he has done this at Tesla. He has done this at SpaceX. But if you were a shareholder in Twitter, and there are some private shareholders in Twitter, even though the company has come off the stock market, you would be a little bit worried. The income streams are very, very unclear. Twitter has $13 billion in debt, 13 billion at a very high interest rate. Banks have not been able to unload this debt onto other owners because people are concerned about the future of Twitter. So how long this thing can survive, I suspect it will survive in some shape or form. But given the influence that Twitter has, it's remarkable that it never makes money. In its 13-year history, it has only made money in one of those years.
Laurie, we've got about 30 seconds or so. Let's move on to Meta and a legal spat for the Facebook owner.
Absolutely, and it gets hard to keep track of who the European Union is suing amongst big tech firms. This one has to do with Meta, or Facebook's marketplace. The European Union says that marketplace, which is essentially classified ads, that this marketplace is crowding out other providers of classified ads. The one thing we do know about EU suits is they tend to unravel over a very long period of time. This is one we could be talking about for months to come yet.
Laurie, thanks very much indeed. Laurie Laird, Arise correspondent, talking to me that from London.